A serpent or a dragon coils into a perfect circle, its jaws locked around its own tail, devouring itself endlessly, a body bent into a promise it cannot keep. This is the Ouroboros, and it doesn't mean what you think. You've seen this symbol before. Most people call it eternity, or rebirth, or wholeness. But look closely. Nothing new enters this circle. Nothing inside ever leaves. Civilizations separated by thousands of years drew the same image. Scholars of comparative mythology recognize this as what Carl Jung called a primordial image, a symbol that appears across disconnected cultures because it maps to something universal in human psychology, the cycle that transforms and the cycle that traps, both encoded in the same shape. You've felt this before. The habit you can't break. The week that feels exactly like the last. The sense that you are walking in a circle, trapped in your own history. Let's look closer. 1400 BCE, the enigmatic Book of the Netherworld. The first documented Ouroboros guards Tutankhamun's tomb, not as decoration, but as instruction. The serpent encircles Ra, the sun figure of Egyptian cosmology, during his nightly passage through darkness. Notice the weight of that belief, a civilization organized around nightly death and return. By the 3rd century CE, Greek alchemists inscribe hen to pan beside the serpent, the all is one. They seem to recognize the pattern without simply copying it. Later, Gnostic mystics, Norse skalds, Aztec priests each adopt the motif. Each echo the same paradox. The act that ends is the act that begins. Whether through cultural transmission or independent psychological necessity, the result is identical. Across belief systems, across centuries, the Ouroboros represents creation and destruction as a single mechanism. Not sequence, not stages. One unified gesture. In his work on alchemy, Carl Jung described the Ouroboros as a closed system. Whatever exists inside must feed on itself. Change doesn't enter from outside, it recycles what already exists, preserving form under constant threat of dissolution. This isn't mythology. This is a map. There's a moment when repetition stops feeling symbolic and starts feeling familiar, not dramatic, just heavy. The same conversations, the same intentions, the sense that effort is happening but distance isn't. If this image is doing anything right now, it's probably not in your thoughts. It's in that quiet resistance you feel when nothing here surprises you anymore. That reaction matters, because this symbol was never meant to be admired. Phase 1, creative destruction. Death fuels rebirth, seasons turn, phoenixes rise, compost becomes soil. The alchemists carved it as solvent coagula, dissolve the base metal, then coagulate gold. The Norse called it Jörmungandr, the world serpent circling Midgard. According to the Prose Edda, Jörmungandr held reality together by gripping its tail. Should it loosens, their cosmos would end. Every rotation climbs higher than the last. This means you cannot transform by adding new things. You grow by metabolizing your own past. You must eat your own tail. Integrate the shadow you tried to leave behind. The psyche interprets this not as loss, but as ascension. Phase 2, the recursive trap. Compulsive loops without progression, doom scrolling, toxic relationships that restart after every ending, addiction cycles disguised as routine. In systems theory, this pattern is sometimes described as pathological autopoiesis, a term from biologists Maturana and Varela, describing systems that feed only on themselves until they collapse. Trauma and uncertainty teach the psyche that familiar pain feels safer than unknown transformation. In psychology and alchemy, Jung warned that the Ouroboros state can become regression, not integration but imprisonment. Each rotation tightens the noose. The serpent still devours its tail, but now it is starving, not renewing. The same mechanism runs both spirals. Your body knows which face you're feeding. We can document appearances of the symbol across 34 centuries, but the silences between those points are vast. We cannot prove whether the Egyptian embalmers taught alchemists, or whether each tradition independently carved the same shape after watching seasons loop. Here's what we do know: the pattern appears again and again, and almost always in cultures that understood time as cyclical, not linear. But here's what modern culture misreads. We see the serpent and assume it means everything works out. The original sources resist this comfort. Ra's nightly disappearance, imagined as a god devoured, not ascending. Ragnarok does not promise preservation. Renewal comes only after collapse. The Greek hen to pan appears beside warnings. Dissolution must precede creation. Jung didn't support the readings mistaking the Ouroboros for a static circle. In Psychology and Alchemy, he writes, "The process of development proves on closer inspection to be cyclic or spiral. The dream motifs always return after certain intervals to definite forms." He notes the symbol surfaces in patients' dreams during transition phases, when the old self is being digested, but the new self has not yet coagulated. One way, then, to resolve the circle paradox, though not the only way, is geometric. What if the Ouroboros is not a flat circle, but a rising coil? A spiral. You pass the same coordinates: doubt, loss, rebirth, but sometimes at a higher altitude. Something is cycling right now. Breath, sleep, seasons. Everything alive loops. The Ouroboros doesn't ask if you cycle, it asks how. What are you circling back to consume? And what if that hunger isn't self-sabotage, but the mechanism through which wholeness is negotiated? The serpent, or dragon eating its tail, appears across 34 centuries of human record, not as decoration, but as a navigational sketch. Self-consumption is not erasure. It is self-creation under pressure. This is only one reading among many, but now you've seen one possible map.